the segment of our journey where we turn for home officially. We left Alamosa, Colorado, and headed to Santa Fe, New Mexico. We had a couple of stops that we wanted to make along the way.
On our way to Santa Fe, I talked John into stopping by the Earthship compound. This has been one of the rabbit holes that I've gone down, checking out how Earthships are built and how people live in these off-grid dwellings that have been built from mostly recycled materials. Each of the Earthships is unique. I don't think we saw two that looked even similar to each other. And people do actually live in these dwellings. They use recycled materials, so a lot of cans, bottles, tires, and they actually create a geothermal mass from recycled tires that they've pounded with dirt, and that creates kind of the back of the building, and then the front of the building is these massive windows, and the Earthships do all have these greenhouses in the front of them. There is a visitor center, so there's a lot of good information if you are curious about the Earthship. They do have a tour for $8, but I wouldn't recommend taking that. Just watch the YouTube videos. They're basically the same thing. But the information in here is kind of interesting.
After spending about 3 days at the Earthship it was like an hour. We started to head out, but there's a lot of material on YouTube about the Earthships. It is fascinating. They are self-sustaining. They have water reclamation and solar power and a lot of innovative ideas. And so it was interesting to see. It was not at the top of my list of things to do, but I wound up being pleasantly surprised by it.
So maybe for one of our next adventures, we can stay in an Earthship for a couple of days.
We'll see. Of all the cities we could have stayed in New Mexico, we chose Santa Fe because of the history and the pictures that we've seen. We were very excited to get to the hotel and get started on our visit.
I have a bit of affinity for the Pueblo architecture, so I enjoyed walking downtown and looking at all the different buildings. John humored me again, and we got to go and check out the basilica. I'd never been in a basilica before. Didn't even really know what it was, but it was pretty cool. Got to hear the bells chime, and got to go inside and check out the stained glass. It was absolutely gorgeous.
In addition to Pueblo-style architecture, Santa Fe has color. I will say that with all the shops and art galleries and the basilica, we got through the downtown area of Santa Fe fairly quickly. We stopped into a restaurant, cafe, for a snack before we decided to head back to the hotel.
Next morning, I woke up and went to go get us coffee and noticed something when I looked out the window. Actually, I noticed that something was missing, our bikes. So this was our bad experience in Santa Fe, and our bikes got ripped off.
The thieves had cut through a total of 5 locks. Actually, they cut through 3 of them, and they didn't cut through 2 of them that had alarms attached to them, so they must have taken those with them. We spent the balance of the day waiting in the lobby for one of the Santa Fe police officers to come and take our theft report. And fortunately, we had all the information we needed, so we used that time to kind of prepare all of our material, which made the final interaction pretty quick.
The next morning, with a lighter load and a heavier heart, we headed out to our next stop. We were determined not to let the fate of the bikes ruin the rest of the trip. So we tried to put on a brave face and head out to Texas.
Friday night, found a photograph of us without cares and worn out clothes. Doesn't seem so long ago. Now I'm just sitting here bored at home, and it really got me thinking of the times we took off on the road. That night we were cruising around town in Memphis, running the lights. I just know how it felt. I won't forget that. Windows down and open top.
Specifically, we went to Palo Duro Canyon State Park.
Just outside of Amarillo, Palo Duro is the second largest canyon in the United States.
Don't I miss you and all those things we did back then? Way back then. It's funny how times roll by. Is it 12 years since last time? Where'd you go? What's the score? Did you find those things we did back then. Way back then. Killing time, Friday night, found a photograph of us. I can't remember what we did that time. We were spending one night in Venice. It just slipped my mind. I just know how it felt. I won't forget that. Windows down and open top. But we were clever not to take it too far. Though it's hard not getting tempted. Calling you up to see how you've been. 'Cause don't I miss you and all those things we did back then. Way back then. Way back then.
State Park has a lot of great trails, and we tried to hike as many of them as we possibly could while we were there.
Running down the same road like so many times before. I never felt as lonely, but I'm trying not to show. They said it would be easy, still I'm giving all I got. I just wanna tell you something, it must have been something I forgot. All this time, it was never enough. So please slow down. I'm just trying to find my way back to you. I'm taking the long road, running on empty. I'll be better this time around. I'm going where you go if you let me. I'll promise you better days, only better days. Running down the same road, hope it leads me somewhere new. Making up for lost time, gonna make it right by you. They said it would be easy, guess I never thought it through. My head's been in the wrong place when it should have been with you. All this time, it was never enough. So please slow down. I'm just trying to find my way back to you. I'm taking the long road, running on empty. I'll be better this time around. I'm going where you go if you let me. I promise you better days. I'm taking the long road, running on empty. I'll be better this time around. I'm going where you go if you let me. I promise you better days, only better days.
This is not slow-mo or edited in post. This is actually how slowly we were climbing up these rock faces. It was a bit treacherous on the other side, so this was about the highest peak ascent we did on the entire journey, so we were very cautious. And yes, we held up the group in back of us, but that was us being super safe. It was so scary, Mishka had no choice but to let me film something.
I just didn't want to drop the camera. It would be a long way down. I think we both agree that that climb was definitely worth it.
Absolutely. It was a lot of fun and one of the highlights of the stay here in Palo Duro. things we loved about Palo Duro, the hiking trails were awesome. The scenes were beautiful. We enjoyed the fact that we were close to Amarillo because it gave us lots of options for things to do. And the night sky was spectacular. The reason it was important to be close to Amarillo, unfortunately, is one of the things we didn't like about Palo Duro, and that was the flies. They were everywhere. And the idea of cooking a meal with these infestations was not attractive to us. So that was the only downside, really. And we got out of the camp a lot to go and get away from them. So.
I think we would like to go back to Palo Duro, but maybe in the winter. Our next stop on the way back home to Ohio was in Oklahoma. We stayed at Sequoia State Park. The campground itself was pretty basic, but what was really cool is there was the lake. We didn't realize this at the time, but it's actually a bird sanctuary.
So you're the fire, you're the flare, you're the song inside my head, and I will taste every note. Feels so good when you're in my head, and you're the fire, you're the flare, you're the song inside my head, and I will taste every note. Feels so good when you're in my head, and it's the road I figured and the curves I've been living, the flag I'm giving, a signal, pick me up.
After one night in Sequoia State Park, we moved to Arkansas to camp out at Lake Catherine.
Now, so you're the fire, you're the flare, you're the song inside my head, and I will taste every note. Feels so good when you're in my head. So I've been stuck forever, it seems like forever. I'm ready to fire the signal, pick me up and say, come on, pick me up.
We spent 2 nights at Lake Catherine so that we could go and visit Hot Springs National Park. Known for Bathhouse Row, which is the historic bathhouses that sprung around the hot springs in the late 1800s, early 1900s. This is just an added bonus. Really, the intent of the national park is to protect the actual natural hot springs that are all over the place in this area. Throughout the park, there's these fountains like this one where people can fill out their water bottles or jugs, and it's some of the best tasting water we've had on our trip.
Taste every note, feels so good when
So,
you're in my head.
It says it's a 30-minute walk, so. I dig it. It's pretty. There are a couple of bathhouses that are still in operation even today. We chose not to partake in those, but we did go into the visitor center and tour what the historical bathhouse looked like. all the bathhouses are fed by these springs. So here's an example of one for this particular bathhouse. Kind of hard to see, but that's actually the Fordyce spring that used to feed this bathhouse back when it was in operation. The bathhouses are quite ornate and posh. The Cultural Center, which resides in the old Ozark Bathhouse, is where they have art displays from various artists and residents. Every year, the National Park Service invites 4 to 5 artists to join them in hot springs as artists in residence. As part of that program, they have to create a piece of art that is representative of the Hot Springs National Park. We only got to spend a day at Hot Springs National Park, but we thoroughly enjoyed it, and we'll be coming back. Lake Catherine was a great little campground. We got to go kayaking, and just the fact that Hot Springs is so close, and there's so much to do, and absolutely gorgeous.
And just like that, we're off to our final campground for this journey. This is Edward Babler Memorial State Park. I think I got that right. There's a lot of words in there. That is just outside of St. Louis, Missouri. So in this trip, we mixed camping with a trip into the city. We wanted to see the arch, so we enjoyed the tram ride up to the top of the arch. As you know by now, we love a good museum, and they have a great one at the base of the arch. And that brings us to the end of our 2-month Road to the Mountains adventure for the summer. We had a fantastic time. We had lots of great adventures and wonderful experiences, a couple of challenges that we overcame together. And overall, I think we've learned a ton and are applying that in our planning for our next trip. We can't wait to get on the road again, and we hope you continue to follow us.